legitimate power plants in Italy. His arrest record. Isn't that insane? Power plants in Italy. Holy fuck. Arrest records, 115, 1917, New York City, 1897 PL. Gun charge, 60 days in a workhouse. 4/23, 1918, he was arrested in Queens, New York. Felonious assault. On 4/30/18, it was discharged. 4/25, 1924, New York City, caught with a gun. On 4/26 of 1924, that charge was dismissed. 5/13/24, Brooklyn, New York, homicide by auto. Apparently he ran somebody the fuck over. 6/3/24, discharged. 1/17, I'm sorry, ran somebody over with a car. Fuck him, kill him, run him over, PD, run him over. 1/17/25, Hoboken, New Jersey, disorderly conduct. On 1/25/25, that charge was discharged. July 25th of 1925, he was arrested for burglary. On 7/25/25, the same day, it was discharged. 10/10/1925, homicide using a gun. On 10/13/25, discharged. 1/9/1927, Brooklyn, New York, gun charge. 1/21/27, he was fined $250 and 30 days in jail. 1/13/1931 in Jersey City, New Jersey, carrying a dangerous weapon, pipe. Oh my God. Oh, Vito Genovese. Let's see. On 2/3/31, no indictment, and that was actually dismissed. Let's see. Where else are we here? 12/4/1934, Brooklyn, New York. He was arrested for homicide using a gun. See below, same case. 9/28/1944, New York City. Wanted for murder, apprehended. 6/2/1945, murder first degree. 6/10/46, discharged. Genovese is reputed to have fled to Italy to escape prosecution from the murder of Ferdinand Boccia, a Brooklyn gangster. During World War II, Genovese acted as an interpreter for numerous American military government officials in Italy. At the same time, he was also active in the black market, stealing U.S. Army trucks and driving them from supply depots, loading them with flour, sugar, and other supplies. The truck was then driven to a place of concealment and unloaded. The trucks were then destroyed. He was arrested by Army officers but never tried on the black market charges. He was returned to the United States and turned over to officials in Kings County, New York, to stand trial for the Boccia killing. The witness died. Genovese was acquitted. The witness, Santos, was murdered in the Flatlands section of Brooklyn. Note, Genovese is number 130 on the United States narcotics list of major violators. His registered activities, reputed associates: Mike Miranda, John Caputo, Frank Costello, Joe Profaci, Russell Buffalino, Salvatore Chiri, Vincent Rao, Tommy Lucchese, Jerry Catania, Anthony Paterno, Salvatore Moretti, Peter Loplaca, Abner Zwillman, James Lynch, George Smurra, John Riboletto, Albert Anastasia, William Cardinale, Charlie Luciano, Angelo DiCarlo, Anthony Strollo, Joe Dodo, Anthony Richards. His relatives: Carmine Genovese, who was his brother, lives in Asbury Park, New York. Michael Genovese is his brother, lives on Riverside Drive. Phil Genovese, which is his son, married to Rose Marie Calandrillo, who operates the Suncrest Liquor and Beer Distribution Company in Fairhaven, New Jersey. Apalachin. Subject was picked up on a roadblock on a highway adjoining Barbara's property, riding with Russell Buffalino. All right, now we're going to move on to Natali Joey Vola, 792 Bay Ridge Parkway, Brooklyn, New York. February 22nd of 1907, was born in New York City. His occupation: president, treasurer of the Belmont Garment Delivery Company, 242 West 37th Street, New York City. President, Amity Garment Delivery Company, same exact address. Operates Fratelli Birrio Distributing Company. Subject is believed to exercise control over the shoulder pad industry Yes, shoulder pad industry with the backing of Strachey, alias Joe Stretch, and Harry Strasser through the existence of a shoulder pad association of which manufacturers are required to join. His arrests, 8/1/31. Gun charge, discharged on 8/7, 8/5/32. Coercion, he was acquitted on November 13th to 32. Reputed associates, Carmine Galante, Frank Cucciara, Ignacio Canone, Harry Strasser, Joe Strachey, John Taranello, Joe Barbara, Niccolo Gruppo, Joe Riccobono, Carmine Lombardozzi, Alfred Anicola, Joe Profaci, Vincent Rao, Charlie Cheery, Joe Bonanno, John Ormento, Joe Magliacco. Subject was picked up on a roadblock on highway adjoining Barbara's property, driving a 1957 Cadillac sedan owned by Alfred Angelicola of 600 Market Street, East Patterson, New Jersey. Did stay at the Carlton Hotel, Binghamton, New York on November 13th to 57. With the subject at time that he was picked up was Frank Cucciara of Boston, Massachusetts. So let's flip the page. Subject came to Apalachin with Carmine Lombardozzi, Joe Riccobono, and Frank Cucciaro in Riccobono's car. November 14th, subject was with Louis Larasso and Frank Maggiore, and they stayed at the Carlton Hotel in Binghamton, leaving on November 15th of 57. Carlo Gambino, 2230 Ocean Parkway, Brooklyn, New York. Born August 24th, 1902 in Palermo. Associated with Schriller and Gambino and Salstein, 141 East 44th Street, New York City, labor relation consultants. Reputedly has financial interests in the Carroll Paper Products Company, 412 3rd Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Arrests. So here we go. Lawrence, Massachusetts. He was arrested in 11/13/31 of suspicion of theft. It was dismissed. Brockton, Massachusetts, 10/9/1934, grand larceny. He wasn't prosecuted, made restitution of $1,000. This is in 1934, $1,000. Do you have any idea what kind of fucking money that is? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 6/17/37, violation Internal Revenue Act for possessing an illegal liquor still. 22 months, he ended up doing 22 months in Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary. Subject to several federal and tax arrests, most of which have been dismissed. Reputed associates, Santos Sorge, Joe Bonanno, Tommy Lucchese. Subject's son is married to Lucchese's daughter. Lucky Luciano, Mike Miranda, Paul Castellano, who was his brother-in-law. Subject's brother, Paul Gambino, fled back to Italy to avoid prosecution in a federal alcohol case. Subject was suspected by immigration authorities to be involved in smuggling aliens into Philadelphia. Yeah, it says aliens. He was smuggling people into Philadelphia in May of 48. Subject went to Apalachin in a borrowed car with Armand Rava, Mike Miranda, and his brother-in-law, Paul Castellano. Dominic Alamo, 6 Cherry Street, Pittston, PA. Co-owner and manager of Jane Hogan Dress Company, Pittston, PA. Acts as a commitment man for local 8005 United Mine Workers of America. Reputed associates, Herman Stromberg, Angelo Sciandra, Russell Buffalino, Jimmy Doyle, Frankie Carbo, Emmanuel Zakuri, James Ostico. Arrests, 12/17/32, robbery in Scranton, not guilty on 1/30/33. 11/6/33, suspicion. Doesn't say anything else about the charge. 8/16/1940, violation Internal Revenue Act. Gets 1 year suspended sentence, probation. Subject was riding in a car with Emmanuel Zakari of Endicott, New York. Questioned on the highway 7 miles west of Vostell, New York. And was released. Subject stated he came to Apalachin with James Anthony Ostico and Angelo Joseph Sciandra. All right, Joe Barbara Jr. This is the son. McFall Road, Apalachin, New York. Born March 24th, 36. After 1 year at college, the subject went to work for his father, Joe Barbara Sr. During the past 3 years, Barbara Jr. has been active in his father's Canada Dry bottling plant in Endicott, New York. He drove a truck and worked in the bottling room of the plant. When his father suffered several heart attacks in 1957, subject assumed the day-to-day operations of the company. No known criminal record. On November 11th of 57, Barber Jr. drove from the Endicott plant to his home for lunch. In doing so, he went through Sergeant Croswell's roadblock. Upon arriving at his home, he did not have his lunch, but turned around to drive back down the road. At the bottom of McFall Road, he was stopped by the roadblock. On November 13th, upon request of his father, he made the following reservations and picked up the keys. Community Motel Binghamton, 1 room. Parkway Motel in Vestal, 3 rooms. Joe Barber Sr., from Apalachin, New York, born in 1905 in Castellamare del Golfo, Sicily, naturalized in 26. Aliases Joe Barber or Joe Barbaro, President Endicott, Canada Dry Bottling Company Incorporated of Endicott, New York. Arrests. He was arrested in Wyoming, PA. Suspicion of murder. Discharged. 8/1/31. Carrying a revolver. Dismissed. And that took place in New York City. 2/21/33. He was arrested in Scranton, PA. Suspicion of murder. Discharged. Number 4, U.S. Marshal Union, New York, 7864, 61346. Office of Price Administration, illegal requisition of sugar, 62446, $5,000 fine. And this is in 1946. Reputed associates, Joe Mangino, Pasquale Turagano, Vincent Coppola, Tony Carmel, and Joe Moriali in connection with suspicion of murder in Wyoming, PA, 1/5/31. Santo Volpe and Angelo Polizzi in connection with suspicion of murder in Scranton on 2/21/33. At subject's wedding, automobiles. See, and this is my point. When he was getting married, this was how many years ago? They were already on to these guys. Subject's wedding, automobiles registered to the following men were identified by the state police. Louis Consergo, Joe Gianavoso, Ernest Sesso, Joe Chiliborto, Nicola Genovese. This says Son Galante. So I think they mean Carmine Galante. Vincent Asseri, Giuseppe Polizzi, Joe Pinto, Pasquale Pazzi Turrigiano. Let's see. Notes recording to corporate books. Charles Buffalino. So this is money that he gave to people. He gave $2,500 on 7/31 of 1949 to Charlie Buffalino. To Louis Consargo, he gave $5,000 on 7/31/45. These are all the same day, so it's all going to be, well, unless I note differently. Louis Pagnotti, $10,000 in 1945, 7/31. Angelo Polizzi, $15,000 on 7/31 of 45. Santo Volpe, $10,000 on 7/31 of 45. Josephine Barbara, $5,000 on 2/28/46. And Louis Picciano, $2,714.25 on 4/30/1948. Relatives, John and Matthew Vivona, brothers of Mrs. Joseph Barbara. Ignazio Canone, nephew of Mrs. Joseph Barbara. Matthew and Mark Vivona, 6 Garfield Place, Endwall, New York, brother-in-law by marriage. Persons recommended for gun permits by the subjects: James Tedesco, Thomas Carey, Americo Rogo, and Primo Caesar. The subject is the co-signer of Turrigiano's promissory note in the amount of almost $5,000. This guy doesn't really matter because he was just... this is insane to me. All right, let's see. Joe Bonanno, 1726 DeKalb Drive, Brooklyn, New York, 1846 East Elm Street, Tucson, Arizona. January 18th of 1905, he was born in Italy. He becomes a citizen on 5/17/1945. Reputed occupations: Colorado Cheese Company, Trinidad, Colorado, with John Spadero and Robert Dioniso. Formerly partner in the B&D Construction Company, 4755 Thomas Street, Brooklyn, New York, and 480 Johnson Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. 1/1936 to 8/1942, the manufacturer of women's coats. Arrests: 9/16/30, New York grand larceny in possession of revolver, with 2 men in the Okay, and it was Also, two men were in the car and they were transporting machine guns to Al Capone in Chicago. He gets acquitted. 12-10-40, alien registration charges. 112-42, Brooklyn U.S. Marshal, violation of wage and hour law, fine $400 on 2/27/42. He received a suspended sentence and 18 months probation. 3-6-42, Brooklyn U.S. Marshals, conspiracy on 4 counts. On count 1, $50 fine. Count 2, they threw it out. Count 3, they threw it out. Count 4, they threw it out. And he only gave, well, there were suspended sentences, 6 months. Let's see. Reputed associates: Joe Barbara, John Bonaventure, Louis Volpe, Frank Giramita, Vincent Di Pasquale, Pietro Bonaventure, Charlie Di Benedetto, Joe Spadaro, Cornelius Bortschinger. That's a weird name. Let's see. John Terratinella, Vincent Mangano, Frank Garofalo, Joe Profaci, and June, who apparently was from Tucson, James Coletti, Robert Dioniso. Let's see, what is this? This says note, and this is one of the only things that has a note to it. Believed to have traveled to Palermo, Sicily, passport 6666676, Giuseppe Bonanno. Soon in the company of Santos Sorge in September of 57, deportation proceedings. February 6th of 53, deportation proceedings were instituted against the subject, omitting from the Kefauver Senate Intelligence Committee. Subject is believed to have entered the United States illegally. Apalachin was found in a cornfield, but here's what's weird, okay? And I'll explain this in a minute. It was found in a cornfield on McFadden Road adjoining the Barber property and brought to Vestal Station. It was questioned by the state police. He admitted to being at the meeting and was visiting Joe Barber Sr. In his possession was a business card of James DeLuca, a secretary-treasurer, Union Local 66. He was registered on October 17th of 56 at the Arlington Hotel, Binghamton, charged to the Canada Dry Bottling Company, with Joe Barbara, John Bonaventure, Frank Garofalo, and Louis Volpe. Now, here's the problem with that. There's no evidence he was there, because I have other documents that totally refute that. And the reason why I said it refutes that is because they said the only thing found at the scene was his driver's license. Plus, if you remember, Joe Bonanno wouldn't have been at that meeting. He was already thrown out of the Mafia. He was already out. He was done. Vito Genovese and them wanted nothing to do with him. Luciano was already gone. I think what that is the government saying he was there because why? Because he was the one that dropped the fucking dime. Because by all accounts, nobody said he was there. Nobody said he was there. There are books, and I'm not saying that books are always truthful. Books have said he was not in attendance. Other gangsters has said he was not in attendance. So this is the FBI, I think, covering his ass. That's what I suspect. It may be a leap, but that is something we probably should debate at some point. Because on multiple other paperwork that I have says only his driver's license was found. And so maybe it was clerical, a clerical problem. But, listen, that's what kind of leads me to believe that he's the one that did it. All right, John Bonaventure. And we'll talk about this next week a little bit. Or maybe we'll do a live show and talk about it. John Bonaventure, Cleveland Street, Brooklyn, New York, April 18th, 1901. He was born in Castellamare, Sicily. Entered the U.S. from Cuba 5/10/1940. He was naturalized in 8/6/46. Aliases: Giuseppe Bonanno, Peppino Bonanno, Joseph Bonaventure, Joe Bonaventura. It's hilarious. He gave himself Giuseppe Bonanno as his alias. That's hilarious. His reputed occupation: undertaker. It's a great job to have. Cheese and oil business, Pinto Clothing Company, and Levine and Bonaventure ladies coat contractors. Real estate salesman for for Joseph Bivana, 404 Central Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. No arrests that are known. Associates: Joe Bonanno. He was the uncle of Joe Bonanno. And his other known associate was Carmine Galante, picked up in a field on McFadden Road, adjoining Barbara Properties by Trooper Sackle, and brought to the Vestal Station. Bonaventure said that he came up there to visit Joe Barbara, who was sick, identified through Social Security card 09412. I'm not doing the rest of that. A person of this name giving the same address under passport 861454 entered the United States on October 56 in New York City from Italy. Stayed at the Arlington Hotel in Binghamton October 17th and 18th, 56 with Frank Garofalo and Louis Volpe, who were registered for October 16th, 17th, and 18th and 19th of 56, charged to the Canada Beverage Company. Joe Bonanno and Joe Barbara were registered to this hotel on October 17th of 56. Very strange. Very, very strange. All right. Russell Buffalino, 304 East Dorrance Street, Kingston, Pennsylvania. Born in 1903, the U.S. Immigration authorities contend that the subject was actually born in Sicily, not Pennsylvania. He was born in Sicily, but the subject contends that he was actually born in Pennsylvania. Month and date are unknown in this regard to his birth. Deportation proceedings will be pending. Occupation: owner of Penn Drape and Curtain Company, 161 South Main Street, Pittston, Pennsylvania. Believed to be active in the Pennsylvania garment industry, operating a non-union shop. Subject with James Ostico were guests of the Atlas Chain and Manufacturing Company, West Pittston, Pennsylvania, at Bimini, British West Indies in April of 56, and went to the Hotel Nacional in Havana on May 2nd of 1956. So for people that say that Buffalino was not on the commission, because people keep saying that, this proves he was right then and there. So there you go. That is evidence. Subject stayed at the Hotel Roderick, Endicott, New York on 5/156 with son Angelo, and stated on that registration that he was representing Medico Industries Incorporated, room charged to Canada Dry. Arrests. Let's see. New York State DCI. Okay. He was arrested in Buffalo on 2/4/27 of criminally receiving stolen property. 7/22/33 possession of machinery with serial number filed off, which was a car. Buffalo. He was arrested again in Buffalo. 6/13/35 criminally receiving stolen property and violation of U.S. Immigration Law 12/16/57, and that would be pending. And it's interesting to look at these guys and see they weren't arrested for shit. His associates: Joe Barbara, John Montana, Santo Volpe, Dominic Alimo, Angelo Sciandra, James Pluneri and Jimmy Doyle, Herman Stromberg, John Ormento, Salvatore Leproto, Anthony Guarineri, Angelo Polizzi, Samuel DiBala, Modesto Laquasto. That's a fucking great name. Associates continued: Castro Giannanto, alias Cappy, Jack Perosi, Albert Anastasia, Johnny Dio. Arrived with Di Simone, Savello, and Scozzari in a motor vehicle owned by William Modico? Yeah, Modico, that's right. Owner of Medico Electric Motor Company, Pittsburgh, PA, who is reputed to have been engaged in illicit liquor trafficking from 28 to 33. At the time, the New York State troopers checked his car, 1957 black Chrysler Imperial, New York, Pennsylvania registration. The following occupants were with him in the car on 11/15/57. Vito Genovese, Jerry Catania, Dominic Oliveto, and Joseph Ida. Subject stayed at the Arlington Hotel in Binghamton, New York on March 18th of 57 with Joe Barbara, Vincenzo Ostico, and Angelo Sciandra, who will be in that bill will be charged to the Canada Dry Beverage Company. Next, we move on to Ignatius Canone. Come on down. You're the next contestant on You're Getting Fucked. 3634 Bath Avenue, Endwell, New York. He was born on November 12th of 25 in New York City. He was the owner of Nat's Place, 400 North Street in Endicott, the Plaza Lounge on 1 Endwell Plaza, Endwell, New York. Subject admitted to 2 arrests 20 years ago, both for disorderly conduct. He was involved in a fight in Endwell, and the other was for shooting dice, for which he was fined $2. The latter was in New York City. Reputed associates, Joe Barbara, Mrs. Barbara, who was the subject's aunt. So Ignatius Canone is related to Joe Barbara's wife. Natalie Evola, subject's grandfather, Mrs. Joe Barbara's cousin. So the Evolas were related to Canone and to Joe Barbara. Everybody's related. Subject traveled to Barbara's home alone in his own car. Broome County authorities have noted the subject's automobile at places where crap games were believed to be in progress. Roy Carlisi, 20 Anderson Place, Buffalo, New York. Born in 1909 on April 10th in Chicago, Illinois. Owner of Club 97 in Buffalo, which is a restaurant. He was arrested in Chicago, Illinois on 12/30/37 in violation of the Internal Revenue Act and discharged. He was arrested on 1/4/1943. It just says War Department. So I guess he was drafted and said, fuck off. All right. Reputed associates, Samuel Petizzi, John Termani, Sam Drago, Conchorta Acquisisto. Wow, look at these names. Michael Constanzo and Joe Romano. Apalachin. He claimed to be here, and he was picked up by John Scalish, 11706 East Harrington Street, Cleveland, and also as well John DeMarco, 3536 Hindane Street, Shaker Heights, Ohio, and James LaDuca, Dana Drive, Lewiston, en route to New York City on business, and made a simple pleasure trip. Claimed he was not at the Barbara home. Brought to Vestal Station by Trooper Tiffany in car. License number doesn't really matter, but the car was actually owned by John Scalish. Had $300 on his pockets. Indicted for contempt, 15 counts. And Tioga County grand jury on February 27th of 58. I crack up at some of this shit. All right. A couple more names. Paul, believe me, there's going to be more names next week. Paul Constantino Castellano, 1737 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn, New York. Born in 1912 on April 6th in New York City. Occupation, butcher. Owner of MC Meat Markets, 6 stores. Office headquarters at 140 Fort Greene Place, Brooklyn, New York. Arrests, 7/34/1934. Wanted in Connecticut on charges of larceny. 8/12/34, he was charged with robbery with violence. He got 1 year in jail. That was it. Reputed associates, Carlo Gambino, Mike Miranda, and Armand Rava. Subject stated he was invited by Carlo Gambino, his brother-in-law, to drive him to Joe Barbara's house. Gambino borrowed an automobile from Peter Ferrara. He was introduced to Armand Rava and Mike Miranda in the car and drove them all upstate on November 13th of 57 and claimed he didn't know anybody. Stand-up guy. All right. Jerry Catania. Let's see. Born in Newark on January 8th of 1902. This is going to be interesting. Employee and stockholder in Runyon Vending Sales Company, 221 Frolic Housing. Jesus, I just read Freeling Hyson Avenue, Newark, New Jersey. Presently on 10/22/56, he was the personal director, formerly vice president of Markel Manufacturing Company in East Patterson, New Jersey, former partner in Public Service Tobacco Company in Hillside, New Jersey. Reported to have formerly been an officer of Cool Vent Metal Awning Company of New Jersey and Delaware. Arrests. Here we go. 8/11/23, shooting crap. Suspended sentence on 8/13, so he's in a crap game. 12/9/23, gambling, paid a $2 fine. 10/26/1924, interfering with an officer, 2-year probation, $50 fine, and $1 a week for 3 weeks after that. 7/27/24, 526. Suspect, material witness, paid $750 bail and walked. 8/5/26. Robbery, indeterminate term, Rahway Reformatory, 1/19/28. 1/15/27 in Newark, New Jersey. He's arrested for stealing a truck. He gets 9 months in Essex County Penitentiary. 1/24/28, Rahway, New Jersey. Robbery, sent to State Reformatory, transferred to Ann Reformatory. From 1/28/29 to 1/19/43. However, he got out a lot sooner. 11/17/30. He was a material witness in the Pasquelli murder case, turned over to prosecutor's office. Refused to say a word. 11/3/33 in Orange, New Jersey. Loitering. What a great charge. Hanging around. 60-day suspended sentence. 1/23/34 in Hamilton. He was arrested for bribing a federal juror, was fined $1,000 in 1934, and did 8 months in county jail. Reputed associates: Albert Anastasia, Anthony Anastasia, Eugene Catania, Frank Costello, Johnny Dotto, James O'Connell, Joe Stracher, Lucky Luciano, who they made a note believed to have met Luciano in Havana after his deportation from the United States to Italy. Albert Anastasia, Anthony Anastasia, Eugene Catania, Frank Catone, Joe Adonis, James O'Connell, Mike Miranda, Anthony Guarino, Angelo DiCarlo, Joe Barbara, Vito Genovese, Russell Buffalino, Joe Ida, Dominic Oliveto, Abner Longy Zwillman, Al Dugan, Richard Bordiato, Frank Cardinale. On December 21st, 57, during past 8 months, the subject has made numerous trips to Havana, Cuba, where he is alleged to have a large financial interest in gambling concessions at the Riviera Hotel. Information indicates that some of his funds used by Catania were supplies by the Nevada gaming interests. Special note should be made of Catania's former association with Joe Doc Stracher, who is connected with gambling operations in Nevada. Subject is mentioned 166 times in a report of the Kafauver Committee. 166 times. You imagine sitting there having to hear your own fucking name that many times? Catania was riding in a car driven by Russell Buffalino, stopped at a checkpoint at the road adjoining the Barber property. A couple more names, guys, and then we'll get on to the Kennedys, and we have a ton of more names next week, and it just gets more hilarious. All right. Salvatore Chiri, 2 Bridal Way, Palisades, New York, born August 10th of 1898 in Palermo, citizen status unknown, occupation, automotive conveying company of New York Incorporated, in Mahwah, New Jersey. Arrests, 12/26/40, alien registration, no charge. Associates, mentioned 30 times in a U.S. Senate committee for the investigation of organized crime. Apalachin registered at the Del Motel, Binghamton, with a party of 3 guests on November 13th of 57. Brought to the Vestal station and questioned by Trooper R.C. Gear, who identified the subject through his driver's license. All right, next name. Joe Savello, 5311 Denton Drive, Dallas, Texas. Born February 3rd, 1902. Born in Fort Allen, Louisiana. Alleged occupation, importer of food and liquor. Arrests, Dallas, Texas, 7/14/28. Murder, exonerated. Dallas, Texas, 1928. Murder. Murder and also as well as violation of liquor laws. Dallas, Texas, 7/1/28. Murder. And also violation of Harrelson Narcotics Act of Conspiracy. 1/8/37, violation of Harrison Narcotics Act, sentenced to 15 years in Leavenworth Penitentiary and 5 years probation. Reputed associates: Smith & Wesson, Acid, Bell and Howell, John Ormento, Rocco Pellegrino, and Frank DeSimone, attorney and also his cousin. Traveled from Scranton, Pennsylvania to Barbara's in a car operated by the one and only Russell Buffalino. Let me just look really quick and see if there's 1 or 2 more names I can do Oh God, yeah. All right, we'll just do this, and then we'll save the rest for next week. All right, two more names. We have James Coletti, 1415 Claremont Avenue, Pueblo, Colorado. Born in 1897 on October 3rd in Italy, he's the owner of the Colorado Cheese Company of Pueblo, Colorado. Arrest record, 10/7/1927. Receiving stolen goods, was discharged. He was also arrested in actual Jersey City for being disorderly. Let's see, reputed associates, Robert Dioniso of Trinidad, Colorado, John Spadaro of Brooklyn, New York, Joe Bonanno, Frank Garofalo, Carmine Galante, and John Bonaventure. Picked up by Trooper Tenek and Trooper Smith on Little Meadows Road, west of Barbara's property, and brought to Vestal Station, identified from his ID. He was driving a 1954 Cadillac Ford West sedan, operator's license, blah, 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 based out of Colorado. Supposed to have flown to Binghamton and believed to have left by plane. Registered at the Airport Motel Incorporated, Port Newark, New Jersey on November 12th, 13th, and 14th of 57. Frank Zito is also registered there on those dates. All right, so the last name we're going to get to today is my guy, Frank Cucciara, 228 Common Street, Watertown, Massachusetts. Born March 29th of 1895 in Italy, naturalized on August 10th of 31 in Boston. Treasurer and reputed owner of controlling interests in the Purity Cheese Company, 55 Endicott Street, since 1938, Boston, Massachusetts. Here we go. Arrests. 9/28/15. Assault and battery. Discharged. Arrest in Boston. 3/26/25. Unlawful possession of morphine with dynamite. What the fuck? Oh my God. Boston, Massachusetts. 3/26/25. Unlawful possession of morphine and dynamite. Of all the things, what you got in the trunk? Morphine and dynamite. Oh my God. He was 4/11/25. He was found not guilty of carrying morphine and dynamite. 7/15/25, speeding, paid $10 fine. 10/20/25, he was charged with illegal lottery, paid a $50 fine. In Boston, 1/1/1932, he used the alias of Frank Caruso. He was arrested for murder. And then I guess 7/1/32, they threw that out. Boston Municipal Court, 7/30/32, conspiracy to set up a lottery. Concord Court, 7/15/1941, blew through a stop sign, paid a $2 fine. 10/19/23, he was arrested in Manhattan using the alias Frank Kohara. This time, charged with grand larceny. He received a suspended sentence on 6/27/24. In 11/26 of 1926, he was arrested as Frank Cucciara for selling narcotics. 12/28/26, he did a year and 1 day in jail. He was arrested in New York in 5/1/30 as Frank Kohara, again, arrested on forgery. On 5/16 of 1930, it was reduced to grand larceny in the second degree, suspended sentence. He was arrested in New York by the 2nd Division on 12/20/1934 as John Pernacki, and he was in possession of an illegal alcohol still. Alcohol tax unit would arrest him in 5/15/1936 as Johnny Mayo. Possession of a still, 8/4/36. He receives 9 months in prison and a $1,000 fine, and was sentenced upstate to Newburgh. $1,000 in 1936. Jesus. Alcohol tax unit, New York, 10/11/38. He was arrested by the moniker of Joe Pizzo, possession of an illegal still. 12/16/1940, he's using Joe Pizzo again, conspiracy to erect a still. So he's not learning his fucking lesson whatsoever. Taketh the Lord taketh and giveth away, and I rebuild. Reputed associates. Cristoforo Robino. It says 11431 221st Street, Cambria Heights, Long Island. And he is actually a fugitive in a narcotics case since 1955, so he disappeared. Also reputed associates, Carlo Gambino, Frankie Carbo, and Philip Boccola, who visited Charles Lucky Luciano and Joe Dotto in Italy in 57. Subject claimed to come along to Barbara's house by train from Boston to Binghamton and then a cab to Apalachin. Other evidence does indicate that the subject may have come with Carmine Lombardozzi, Joe Riccobono, and Natalie Evola. So there you go. I hope you guys got a kick out of some of that shit. I always laugh because murder. It just never ends with these guys. So next week, when we come back, we've got about another 35 pages of individuals, and it just gets even more hilarious. Some of these guys, Patsy Sciartino, Simone Scozzari, Tommy Lucchese. I don't know, is Tommy Lucchese in this list? He's got to be. Let's see, James DeLuca, Louis Larasso, let me see, Frank Maggiore, Sam Monachino, Dominic Oliveto, James Ostico, Joe Profaci. We got some good names coming next week, and just some of the stuff is hilarious. It really is. And then to round that all off, once we get done with that, we actually have like legitimately all the names, and then they have the categories where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like how many times. So we have homicide, narcotics, gambling, alcohol, miscellaneous assaults, and total offense counts. And it's like just going down the murder. I see 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 7, 2, 5, 9, 1, 3. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that list. Anyway, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, it's time to travel. And we'll go back to Mob Talk Radio. At this point of the show, we are going to get into the Apalachin paperwork. And basically what we've been doing the last couple of weeks is, number one, in case you're new to the show and haven't listened to the previous ones, which I don't see how that would be possible, but one never knows. More or less, as we know it, we have always sort of been told that two cops stumbled upon cars they didn't recognize, and that's what led to the raid on Joe Barbara's house. The problem is that that's not really the way it went down, and we know that. And if you're confused, simply go back and listen to the first show, and we kind of detail how the feds knew a lot more about these guys, because shortly after everybody was arraigned, arrested, some got sentenced to 12 years for really no reason at all. And all of those cases would get tossed. Information starts to come out about every single member that attended that meeting. And the question becomes, well, if they knew all of this information, why didn't they arrest anybody? And you have to look at the time period. And it cross-references right into the Kennedys. And this is why Bobby Kennedy was so pissed. Because he knew they had this information, and J. Edgar Hoover refused to prosecute. And so what we've been doing is showing you that they had sort of a dossier on every single fucking person. And it's insane. And so when we do the Appalachian History Tour thing with the TV thing that we're going to do, I'm going to walk you. I'm going to take you to the hotel they were at and use this paperwork to show you this is where so-and-so was supposedly at. Then we're going to take you where the roadblock. Then we're going to take you to Joe Barbara's house. And we're going to show you, because then it becomes a visual of how interesting this really was, which has led me to come to the sort of resolution that somebody had tipped off the FBI and the state troopers. Because it just doesn't happen that way. Not this quick, not with this type of information. So we have been talking about different people that were there. And there are names on this list that, you know, especially if you go to Wikipedia for information. It's not a horrible place for information, but it's usually not that accurate. But if you look at the names that are on that particular list, it's not even close. There were other people never mentioned on that. And you really don't see too many places that talk about this. Who was there? But in these documents, we've been talking about members who have been there, like Carlo Gambino, and they knew everything. They have all their arrest records. They know where they were born. They know what they told people, what they did for a living. Their reputed people they were hanging out with, the people that they're related to. And it's an interesting sort of look. And in some ways, it's kind of funny because, you know, nobody ever thought that Joe Barbara was a killing machine, but he was. Murder, murder, murder. Genovese ran somebody over with a fucking car. So we're going to go through a bunch of names today, and I think next week will be the last one that we do. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions, shoot them over to mobtalkradioshow@gmail.com. John Scalish, 11706 East Harrington Street, Cleveland, Ohio. Born September 6, 1912 in Cleveland. His occupation was operator of Buckeye Cigarette Company at 11219 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio. His arrest record, 113-1930. He was arrested in Ohio. Investigation related to Cleveland, Ohio. So I don't know what that really means. 2531, Cleveland. Burglary. Disposition unknown. 4432, Cleveland. Robbery. Disposition unknown. Which basically means they have no idea how that ended. 72832. Investigation, disposition unknown. 12733, Cleveland, robbery, 10 to 25 years. Pardoned by the governor, Governor White, on 11/15/35. So he bought a pardon. He gets 25 years, 10 to 25, he's out in 2 because he gets a pardon. Reputed associates, John DeMarco and James LaDuca. Apalachin. He was picked up on Highway Route 17, west of Binghamton. Riding with subject was James LaDuca and John DeMarco. Registered at that Parkway Motel, Vestal, on 11/13/57. Subpoena was served, Tioga County grand jury, but subject failed to appear. All right, Angelo Sciandra. Born on November 26th of 24 in Buffalo, New York. His occupation is a garment manufacturer. His arrests, Buffalo. This is strange because it says 633-957. Okay, so this is odd because it says 633-957-71235. So anyway, he was arrested for rape in the first degree. Reduced to assault in the third degree, suspended sentence. He was arrested for rape. They lowered the charges and gave him a suspended sentence. Reputed associates. Jack Benfante, who was involved in union rackets. Modesto Laquesto. That's a great name. What's your name? Modesto Laquesto, baby. You're free of the week. Actually, it's Modeste Laquesto, but it sounded funny either way. He's a union racketeer. Anthony Guarneri. Nick Bonafente is a union racket guy. Joe Barbara, union rackets and murderer. Has connections with the Tri-Cities Dress Company in Binghamton, New York. Apalachin, he traveled from Pittston with Dominic Alimo and Anthony Ostico and Russell Buffalino. When stopped in Apalachin, subject was in the car with Mike Genovese, Gabriel Manamarino, and James Ostico. Registered at the Arlington Hotel in Binghamton with Joe Barbara, Vincent Ostico, and Russell Buffalino on March 18th of 1957. James Ostico, 156 1/2 Elizabeth Street, Pittston, Pennsylvania. Born, they didn't say. Alias, Dave. Hey, what do you go by? Dave. His occupation, according to the FBI, was transportation manager for the Medico Industries Incorporated, Pittston, Pennsylvania. He was arrested in Wyoming, Pennsylvania, 2/3/31 in violation of a liquor law. He gets 3 months for that, which is basically bootlegging. State Police, Wyoming, Pennsylvania, 11/12/47, conspiracy. No disposition. They don't know what happened. Reputed associates, Dominic Alimo, Joe Barbara, Russell Buffalino, Anthony Guarnieri, Angelo Sciandra. Subject with Russell Buffalino were guests of Atlas Chain and Manufacturing Company in Pittston, Pennsylvania, at Bemini, British West Indies in April of 1956. And from there, they went to the Hotel Nacional, Havana, Cuba on May 2nd of 1956. Subject drove to Apalachin with Dominic Alimo and Angelo Sciandra. When picked up, he was with Michael Genovese, Gabriel Manamarino, and Angelo Sciandra. The motor vehicle was owned by William Madison, alias Greco, and Mederico, owner of Medico Electric Company, Pittston, PA, who is reported to have been an illicit liquor trafficker from 28 to 1933. So as you see, they had the goods on a lot of people. Joe Profacci, born in 1897, October 1st, Villavati, Italy. Naturalized U.S. citizen on September 27th of 27 in Brooklyn, New York. His occupation, Mamma Mia Olive Oil Company, Brooklyn, New York, which is now, I am having a massive, Colavita. Profaci Olive Oil, which was Mamma Mia, is now Colavita. C&P Coke Company, Brooklyn, New York. United Uniform Corporation, 1570 86th Street in Brooklyn. Fratelli Borio Company, 1402 65th Street, Brooklyn. Carmela Mia Meatpacking Company, Brooklyn, New York. Arrest record, 4/18/16. He was arrested in Sicily for theft, violation of domicile, and attempted rape. Dismissed. 11/23. Man, how many fucking guys are rapists? Jesus. 11/23/20 in Palermo. Theft and false witness of a public document. 1 year in prison. 9/19/1934. Investigated in connection with a murder of Ferdinand Boccia of Brooklyn, New York, with Vito Genovese, Mike Miranda, Sebastiano Nami, Gus Frasca, Joe Smurra, and Peter DeFeo. Subject was not arrested, but he was investigated. 12/5/28, he was arrested in Cleveland, Ohio, and for some investigation, discharged. 5/9/46, he was arrested in Brooklyn for forgery of an auto registration. He's acquitted of that crime. 4/7/1949 in Brooklyn, New York, violation of Food and Drug Food and Drug Act, pleaded guilty, suspended sentence, probation 1 year. 10/27/1952, Brooklyn, New York, violation of Food and Drug Act, fined $4,000. $4,000 in 1952, which probably had to do with meat inspection. I got to be honest with you. 10/27/52, Brooklyn, New York, violation of Food and Drug Act, paid another fine of $6,000. That was 12/27. 9/21/53, Brooklyn, New York, evasion of income tax. Reputed associates, Vincent Mangano, disappeared. Philip Mangano, murdered. Joe Magliacco, brother-in-law. Salvatore Lucky Luciano, Mike Miranda, Frank Costello, John Odo, Joe Bonanno, Vito Genovese, Sebastian Nani, Gus Frasca, Joseph Schmurra, Peter DeFeo, Joe Rinaldi, and Niccolo Impastato. On June 4th of 55, Profaci's daughter Carmela married Anthony Joseph Tocco, son of William and Rosalina Zerilli Tocco. Another daughter of Profaci is married to the son of George Zerilli of Detroit, who was the brother of Rosalina Tocco, mother of Joe Tocco, at Carmela's wedding. Now think about this shit. How would they know this? At Carmela's wedding to Joe Tocco, the following mob underworld figures were present and accounted for: Frank Lavorsi, John Odo, also known as Bath Beach Johnny, Anthony Anastasia, Tough Tony, John Dioguardi, Johnny Dio, Salvatore Musacchio, known as The Sheik, and Noah Irocolo, alias Mr. T. I pity the fool. Vito Genovese, Peter Laquaris, Angelo Polizzi, Mike Miranda, Dominic Ferrato, John Ormento, Angelo Melli, Michael Robino. Apalachin subject was picked up in the roadblock on a highway adjoining the Barbara property. Subject was with Joe Magliacco and stayed at Hotel Sterling, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania on November 14th and 15th of 57. Subject was registered at the Arlington Hotel 7956 with Joe Barbara, Joe Baracino, John Culicia, and Gilo Gelanti. And that account was charged to the Canada Beverage Dry Company of Endicott, New York. Coluccio and Gelanti were also registered there on 7/10 of 1956. Carmine Lombardazzi, born February 8th, 1913, New York City, occupation 1951. He was a stevedore, the Brooklyn Docks, Monte Marine Corporation, King Street and East River, Brooklyn, New York, reputedly affiliated with Mobile Power Company, 624 Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York, and Superior Trading Company. Arrest records. Oh, this is going to be fun. 10/1/29, he was arrested in Brooklyn for homicide by automobile. He's another one that liked to run people over, apparently. Him and Vito Genovese must have gotten together. Running a motherfucker over might be a good idea. 11/21/29, that charge was thrown out. 6/13/1930 in Brooklyn, he was arrested for burglary in Kings County Court and also charged with unlawful entry. 6/22/1931 in New York City. It looks like, oh God, this charge was discontinued and thrown out. Here we go. 6/5/1931, he's arrested in Brooklyn for abduction and rape. Wow. Was given 20 days in jail, but those were dismissed. God, half of these motherfuckers are charged with rape. 11/30 in 1941 in Brooklyn. It says 1897 PL, and I'm not sure what the fuck PL is, but that was dismissed. 6/1/45 Brooklyn, 986 PL, $75 fine. 1/12/42 applicant for Coast Guard explosives found. There's another one that likes explosives, rape, and fucking running people over with goddamn cars. 6/3/45 in Brooklyn, 986 PL, $100 or 60 days. 1/7/46 Brooklyn, 986 PL, 150 or 60 days. 6/2/48 Brooklyn, 986 PL, 150 or more. I don't know what PL is. I'll have to look that up. As a matter of fact, I've got my computer on. Let me look up because I want to know what that charge is. What is a PL charge? It's got to be some kind of larceny charge, I think. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it's larceny. And it's okay. So it was a misdemeanor. That's why. So it's like petite larceny or petit larceny. That's what it is. Dumbass. So he liked to steal shit. 10/11/51 in Brooklyn, he was arrested as being a common gambler. 60 days in jail. On 11/28 of 1952 in New York City, he's once again arrested for being a common gambler and is given 30 days in a workhouse. Reputed associates: Joe Klein, Angelo Russo, Al Newman, Michael Scandafia, Louis DeFilippo, Harold Alterman, Arrigo Girasso, Joe Riccobono, Frank Caruso, Joe Agone, George Schmura, Frank the Bug Caruso, Pat Esposito, Sabato Murrow, Max Tannenbaum, Gina Lospina, Natalie Evola, Frank Cucciara, Rocco Pellegrino, Frank Funzi Thierry. Activities. In the 1940s, subject is reputed to have have engaged in massive bookmaking. Between 38 and 43, subject was hiring boss at the Army base at 58th Street, 1st Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Subject was able to settle labor trouble during the 1950-52 when the Monte Marine Company was involved with a maintenance local on the west side of New York. In 1953, subject was investigated by the Brooklyn grand jury as a possible payoff man for gamblers during the period of 46 to 52. Subject is believed to have made sizable loans to bookmakers and policy operators. Complaints of shylocking on the waterfront have been made against him, but not substantiated. Apalachin came to Barbara's with Natalie Evola. His car would also carry Joe Riccobono and Frank Cucciara. Amendum. He went to Utica, New York with Tony Anastasia to attend the wedding of Anastasia's nephew, Antonio. In 1954, connected with Highphone Amusement Company, Brooklyn, New York, which was coin-operated machines. Public relations man with the gray steamship lines, Pier 57, North River, New York. Owner of Mech Platters, Brooklyn, New York, which were brass platers. Let's see. Relatives: Stefano Magadino, brother of Anthony, is president, director, and stockholder of Power City Distribution Company. Stephen Magadino has a son, Peter, who is married to the niece of John Montana. Stephen Magadino's daughter is married to Charlie Montana, nephew of John Montana's mother. Another daughter is married to James LaDuca. So you see here, it's the lineage. Associates: Uh, let's see. Senator somebody, it's just bad printing. Frank Valente, Dominic D'Agostino, Roy Carlisi, Joe DiCarlo, mob leader in Youngstown, Ohio, formerly of Buffalo, New York, Willie Moore, Paul Palmieri, Jersey Racketeers. Apalachin Magadino was picked up on McFadden Road near Barber property by troopers, Sackle and Muthi, and brought to Vostal Station and questioned by Trooper Velasco. Anthony claimed that he came to visit Joe Barber Sr. with John Montana. Seems like everybody got together and kind of got their thing. All right, Dominic D'Agostino, 2226 Ontario Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, born in Italy on December 7th of 1891. Occupation, allegedly unemployed, although believed to own a bakery in Niagara Falls, Ontario, in Canada. Let's see. Arrests. 11/2/1930. Harrison Narcotics Act and conspiracy. Sentenced to 6 months in Erie County Penitentiary on conspiracy. Sentenced by the U.S. District Court to 4 years, 4 days in Atlanta prison. And sentenced suspended on probation and 4 additional counts of assisting in concealment of drug sale and manufacturing and failure to pay income tax. Reputed associates Sam Latuga and Rosario Mancuso. Apalachin, Joseph and Salvatore Falcone traveled from Utica with this subject to the Barber house. Note, subject was indicted by Tioga County Grand Jury April 8th of 58 on 7 counts of criminal contempt of court. Let's see, John DeMarco, 3536 Hindana Street, Shaker Heights, Ohio, born in 1903 in Italy on February 14th, and occupation, real estate broker. Arrest record 12/13/26 in Detroit, Michigan. Arrested for robbery. Was not prosecuted. 7/31/30. Arrested in Cleveland, Ohio. Not prosecuted for homicide. 8/13/39. Cleveland, Ohio. Convicted of extortion. 9/15/42 in Columbus, Ohio. Convicted of blackmail. Sentenced on 9/29/43 to 1 to 5 years. 8/23/48. He's arrested again in Cleveland. Investigation connected with a bombing. No for the record. Reputed associates, John Scalish. Apalachin riding in a car operated by John Scalish. Subject stayed at the Parkway Motel with Scalish, Joe Barber Jr. making those reservations. Subpoena served for subject's appearance before Tioga County. He failed to appear. Frank DeSimone, 7838 Andorre Street, Downey, California. Born on July 17th, my birthday. And he was born in 1909 in Pueblo, Colorado. Occupation attorney. Arrests, no record. Reputed associates, Michael Polizzo from Detroit and Russell Buffalino. Subject mentioned in the report of the U.S. Senate Committee for Investigation on Organized Crime. Traveled to Apalachin with Russell Buffalino, Savello, and Scozzari. Joe Falcone, 1623 Mohawk Street, Utica, New York. Born January 1902. Manager of a liquor store. Arrests. It says U.S. Marshal Utica 12439, violation of Internal Revenue liquor tax, found guilty on 6/17/39, sentenced to 2 years to the penitentiary to be designated, $7,500 fine. But that conviction was reversed on appeal. Reputed associates. In 1939, the ATU agents of the U.S. Treasury Department launched a full-scale investigation into the stills in the Utica area. Salvatore Falcone was believed to be the head of all of the illicit alcohol manufacturing in that area. He also reputedly handled the Italian lottery in the Utica era, the numbers racket. In other words, he was reported to control the shoe repairman in Utica and operate a monopoly in that field. It was reported that other bootleggers operated stills in this area as well, but were required to pay a tribute of $1 to Falcone for every can of bootleg alcohol that was made. Joe Falcone was believed by the ATU and by those investigators to be Salvatore's chief aide. The ATU agents failed to secure proof, however. Salvatore never appeared upon the scene of any illegal endeavor. He never visited any of his stills. He never bought any of the things necessary or those products for the making of alcohol, nor did he ever visit any of the Italian lottery drops. The ATU agents estimated in 1937 that Salvatore Falcone was worth anywhere from $1 to $7 million. In 1956, Salvatore visited Italy and made a large contribution to some public fund and was cited publicly by Benito Mussolini. Upon his return from Italy, he was met in New York City by his brother Joe and a man by the name of John Montana. Salvatore and Joseph Falcone have invested in many legitimate enterprises in the Utica area. Salvatore Falcone reputedly is an important leader in the Italian underworld. He now resides in Florida, 652 Northwest 67th Street in Miami. Let's see. Salvatore Falcone, 1652, Gonkling Avenue, Utica, New York, born on August 17th of 1891 in Italy, and operates a grocery store in Miami, Florida. FBI file for arrest. U.S. Marshal, Utica, New York, 1939, violation of Internal Revenue liquor, 41739, found guilty, 62739, sentenced to 1 year and 5 months. Penitentiary will be designed, $1,000 fine, and it's reversed. I think this is the same goddamn thing. Is this the same thing? Yep. Okay, so why did they do that? That's fucking odd. Hold on a second. Page 22, Joe. Okay, that was Joe Falcone. Okay, this is Salvatore. Salvatore Falcone is believed to be the head of all the illicit alcohol manufacturing in the area. He also repeatedly headed the Italian lottery. He was reported to control shoe repairmen. So it's the same thing we just read. So him and his brother both were charged with the same goddamn shit. All right. Let's see. All right. Michael Genovese, born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, April 9th of 1919, owner of Archie's Auto and Car Wash. Arrest record, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 9/14/36, robbery, 2 years probation. He was arrested in Youngstown on 6/16/45, concealed weapon, indicted on 9/13/45. He was arraigned and pleaded not guilty on 11/21/45. And he was not prosecuted. So it's interesting to look at some of these things because some of these guys could not stop getting arrested, but many of them were never prosecuted, and that's because, money makes the wheel go round. His reputed associates, Gabriel Manamarino, Frank Valenti, Vito Genovese, who they were related, Sam Russo, Jip Contaldo, Anthony Visco, Chuck Teamer, Ralph Arcadia, Boots Bellini, Danny Bellini, Moon Mullins, Richard Ambrose, James Pecora, Joseph Suxia, Charles Brusco, Anthony Fabraro, Arthur Rocco, John LaRocca, Anthony LaRocca, Edward Tronick, Fiore Genovese, Chester Grassi. Subject was identified in the car with James Ostico and Gabriel Manamarino and Angelo Sciandra, registered in Arlington Motel, Binghamton, New York, 11/13/57, with John LaRocca of Coin Distribution Company, registered, made by Joe Barbara on 11/12/57, and charged to Canada Dry Bottling Company. And there's an addendum. Archie's Auto Wash, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in 56, a partnership with John LaRocca in the L&G Amusement Company, which was coin-operated machines in Pittsburgh. In 56, was employed as a salesman in the North Star Cement Company, Pittsburgh, alleged to be head of the numbers racket in the East Liberty District of Pittsburgh, alleged to have concealed interest in Genovese Cocktail Lounge, 412 Larimer Avenue, East Liberty, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Concealed interest in the notorious Club 30 restaurant and gambling casino located on Route 30, just west of the Pennsylvania state line in Chester, West Virginia. All right. Anthony Guarnieri, 3619 Royal Road, Johnson City, New York. May 1st, 1910. He was born in Utica, New York. Occupation, dress contractor. Vice President of Tri-Cities Dress Company in Binghamton. President Treasurer of Oswego Textile Company. Arrest record, Broome County Jail, 1348. Illegal possession of firearms, reduced to a misdemeanor. 11/19/52, sent to Broome County Jail for 4 months, $300 fine, but they didn't say why. Binghamton, New York, 12/5/45. Larceny charge. New York City Police, Sydney, New York, 3/12/8/48. Once again, a lottery charge and then a larceny charge. Was fined $1,500. New York 16th Precinct, 10/3/52, felonious assault with a pipe. Reduced to assault in the third degree, 10/7/52, and it ultimately gets dismissed. Associates, Russell Buffalino, Louis Stromberg, Henry Stromberg, Patsy Sciartino, Joe Profaci, Louis Marconi, Mike Blendia, Angela Sciandra, James Plumeri, Nick Alimo, Joe Barbara, and Joseph Lapadura. Let's see. Freedman's Express, used by Owego Textile Company, transported goods to New York City, was reported to be owned by Abraham Scheit. I don't speak Yiddish, so maybe I'm wrong. Formerly of the Bronx, questionable character, reputed to be muscle for the underworld. Contacts have been established between Buffalano and James Plumeri, a notorious underworld character. Subject was apprehended in 1957 Oldsmobile operated by Patsy Monachino. Other passengers were Sam Monachino, brother of Patsy, both from Auburn, New York, and Joe Profaci of Brooklyn, New York. A couple more of these. Let's see. Bartolo Guccia, born in 1891. They don't know where he was born. Occupation fish peddler, self-employed. Arrest record 1916, Workhouse, New York. Possession of a revolver without a license. 313-17, carrying a weapon. Charges dropped 23. Bank robbery 1-2-23, Binghamton, New York. Breaking and entering 24. Bootlegging 36. Murder first degree. This is 10-22-36 murder. 10-24-36 murder. 10-25-36 murder. This guy went nuts for 3 days. It just started whacking motherfuckers. 10-28-36 murder. So that's 4. And that's like less than a month. Picked up on a roadblock on highway adjoining Joe Barber's property. Joe Ida, 108 Lincoln Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, born on July 26 of 1892. In Italy, automobile salesman for DeAngelis Brothers, New Brunswick, New Jersey. He was arrested in Palisades Park on 8836, Section 15-B, Chapter 114, larceny charge, $10 fine. And that's the only time he was ever arrested. His associations were Ralph Sereno, Alfred DeMarco, Mike Clemente, and Rocco Pellegrino. Apalachin stopped at the roadblock in an automobile with Russell Buffalino. Traveled from Apalachin with Jerry Catania, Vito Genovese, and Joe Olivato. James LaDuca, Dane Drive, Lewiston, New York. Born on October 19th of 1912 in Buffalo, New York. Secretary and Treasurer of Hotel and Restaurant Workers Union, Buffalo, New York. Resigned after this Apalachin incident. Secretary and Treasurer of Magadino Memorial Chapel Incorporated, which was the funeral homes because Magadino owned a ton of them. In 1939, chauffeur employed by the Van Dyke Taxi Company, owned by John Montana. Alleged to have concealed interest in Charles Distribution Company, former holder of wholesale beer license in Niagara Falls, New York, through his wife, Angelina Magadino LaDuca. Reputed associate, Steve Magadino, who was LaDuca's father-in-law. Willie Moore, a New Jersey hoodlum. Paul Palmieri, New Jersey hoodlum. Joe DiCarlo of Youngstown, Ohio, and Buffalo, New York, and John Montana. Arrest, it says twice for traffic violations in Buffalo, New York, and no other criminal record known. LaDuca was stopped on highway near Binghamton, New York, on Route 17 by Trooper Tiffany and Irway and brought to the Vestal Station, identified through chauffeur's license 702-6569 New York and registration 62JLNY4, a 1957 Lincoln Coupe. Subject's car was observed at Barbara's residence on November 13th at the Parkway Motel on the 13th and 14th. Hotel receipts found in a trash bin in the motel for James LaDuca from the Lexington Hotel, New York City, for November 7th to the 11th, 1957, and Utica Hotel, November 12th of 57. While at the Lexington Motel, he phoned Joe Falcone on 11/9/57, 11/12/57, and 4 calls on 11/11/1957. LaDuca, who was picked up on Route 17 after the raid, was riding in a car registered HM373 Ohio, issued for a 1957 Cadillac sedan to Buckeye Cigarette Service Corporated in Cleveland, Ohio. In the car were John Scalish, John DeMarco, and both of whom were subpoenaed by this office to appear before the Tioga County Grand Jury, but did not appear. All right. Samuel Lagatuda, born on April 7th of 1897 in Italy. He's a painter, self-employed, FBI/DCI number/arrests. He was arrested in Buffalo on 4/3/33 on arson in the second degree. The indictment got dismissed. in Buffalo on 8/13/37. Investigation of multiple murders, 3/11/24/37, discharged by the city court. So he was being investigated for 3 murders. They couldn't find shit. Buffalo, 8/14/37, larceny, and it was dismissed. Associates, John Montana, Rosario Mancuso, Joe Falcone, Salvatore. So they all know each other, right? Subject traveled to Barbara, meeting with the Falcone brothers, Mancuso and Joe DiCarlo, identified with the rackets of the 1920s. Louis Larasso, Linden, New Jersey, born on November 13th of 26 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. He's a labor foreman, formerly trustee of Local 394, common laborers and hod carriers. He resigned 12/15/57. No arrest record. Associates, Vito Genovese, Joe Ida, Dominic Oliveto, Emmanuel Riggi, Albert Doyle, and Anthony Riella, registered at the Carlton Hotel in Binghamton, New York at midnight at 11/14/57 with Frank Maggiore and Natalie Evola. Anthony Magadino, 1528, Whitney Place, Niagara Falls. Born June 18th of 97, Castellamare del Golfo, Sicily. Entered the United States on November 1st of 23 on the ship the SS Patria. He was naturalized to Niagara Falls on June 21st of 48. Occupation, undertaker. Vice president of Magadino Memorial Chapel Incorporated, Niagara Street on Portage Road, 2404 South Avenue in Niagara Falls. All right. It says foreign criminal record. Not a lot of these guys had, foreign. Fingerprinted at Ventimiglia, Italy on 2/29/16 on charge of falsifying a passport under the name of Antonio Giovanni Magarino. In custody in Ventimiglia, Italy on 3/15/16 for clandestine activities. He was released on 4/16/1916. Arrested at Castellamare del Golfo, Italy on 8/14/1916 for homicide. He was discharged on 7/23/1917. Insufficient evidence to prosecute. January 29th of 1929, Magistrate of Trapani received amnesty for using a false passport. June 19th of 28, Castellamare del Golfo, denounced for robbery, rape, murder, and extortion committed in 1924. March 1st of 1930, Tribunal of Trapani Court appeals, traveling without a passport and an undisclosed weapon. Magadino's older brother, Pietro Magadino, was shot and killed by the Bucellatato brothers in Italy. Particulars not known. Okay, arrests in America. USI National Service, 2/21/35, violation of U.S. immigration laws, no disposition. Anthony and Stephen Magadino were requested to appear before the federal grand jury in 1952 in Buffalo, New York, for gambling and other things. Anthony would invoke the Fifth Amendment before the SLA 52 times on 12/19/1957. All right, Joe Magliacco, Bayview Avenue, East Islip, New York. Born on June 29th of 1898. In Villabata, Palermo, Sicily. Entered the United States in 24, admitted to the U.S. citizenship in Brooklyn, New York. Prior to 1933, Magliacco was in the olive oil business. In 1933, he commenced operating Sunland Beverage Company wholesale beer distributorship licenses since June 14th of 33. He is also a sole stockholder in that company. Arrests November 20th of 1930 for transporting wine, convicted in federal court, Brooklyn, New York, fined a $1. I'll take that pinch. 1928, arrested for possession of a gun and 6 ounces of alcohol. Produced gun permit, both charges dismissed. Reputed associates, Joe Profacci. Sebastiano Nani, International List of Federal Narcotics Bureau. Salvatore Mazzasalmo, John Balsamo, Emmanuel Camarada, Salvatore Lucky Luciano, Santo Trafficante Jr., Senior, Tampa, Florida. Subject sister is married to Joe Profacci. Magliocco attended Cleveland meeting of the Mafia in 1928 with Joe Profaci. Apalachin, subject registered at the Hotel Sterling, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, on November 14th and 15th of 1957, following the Apalachin meeting. Here's the amendment. Subject is a stockholder in the Ward Trading Company, 170 Lawrence Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. This is a holding company which comprises Alpine Wine and Liquor, Ramapo Wine and Liquor, Universal Liquor Corporation, Lawrence and Company Incorporated, and the Arrow Linen Supply Corporation. The aforementioned companies are interrelated, but the subject shows as a stockholder in only Arrow Linen Supply Company. Arrow services most of the nightclubs, restaurants, and bars in New York City. Frank Bonfiglio, former owner of Arrow and its present sales manager, is closely associated with Frank Costello. Bonfiglio had dinner with Costello on the evening that he and Costello were actually shot, the evening that Costello was shot. All right, and the last one, I think, for the week here. We'll save that one. All right, Frank Majuri, 629 South. Wow. 3rd Road Street. That's fucking odd. Elizabeth, New Jersey. Born on April 18th of 1909 in New York City. Vice President of Labor Local 364. Morris Avenue, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Construction worker for C.F. Braun, Linden, New Jersey. Arrest record. He was arrested in Dunalla, New Jersey on 1333 as Frank Majuri. Conspiracy to commit murder and robbery. 6/16, no bill, meaning they didn't charge him. Long Branch, New Jersey, 10/12/35, illegal possession of liquor. 10/26/35, he was fined $150. Monmouth County and Freehold, New Jersey, 5/11/36, violation of Section 48 and 84 of the ABC Liquor and Contempt Act. 10/2/36, 3 years probation, fined $500. Hartford, Connecticut, 12/30/1937, as Frank Gagliano, illicit manufacturer of alcohol with the intent to sell. 3/11/1938 is given 8 months in jail and fined $200. Sydney, New York, 5/30/1950, disorderly conduct, fined $50. Linden, New Jersey, on 10/27/54, bookmaking, 7/31/56, was given 1 to 2 years probation, fined $3,000. Note, because of the raid in Apalachin, this subject was found to be in violation of his New Jersey probation and is at present in New Jersey State Prison to serve his remaining probation term is 12/3/57. Reputed associate Louis Larasso out of New Jersey, Apalachin. Natalia Evola went to Apalachin with the subject and both registered at the Carlton Hotel at midnight in Binghamton in New York. Anthony Larasso has no known criminal record. Subject was stopped near Barber's home on McFadden Road driving a 56 Chrysler, license number UC5997, New Jersey, registered to James Merlot, 35 Loomis Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So we're getting close to the end of this stuff, and if you guys are getting annoyed with it, I apologize, but I think it's really interesting to see how much the FBI really had on these guys. And so next week we'll wrap up the Apalachin stuff with some big names you might know. And I giggle with the murder shit. These guys, it seems like some of these guys are rapists. They have like 3 things in common. All their cases get dismissed. They're all accused of rape, and they all run motherfuckers over with a car. Oh my God.